Okay, my name is Paul, and I'm an addict.
Hello, Paul.
And it's nice to be here. Just calming down now. I've had quite a difficult day, but I haven't used. So I can tell you, I won't go into it all. I first started using when I was 13 with mates at school, and we had a great time. And I stopped using when I was 53. And I stopped using by coming to NA. So I came to NA in February 2012, my first meeting. Didn't know what to expect. I didn't know anyone who'd ever got clean. I was new in London at the time, so I didn't know anyone. And all I remember about the first meeting was I got a piece of chocolate cake and a cup of tea, and I thought that was okay, you know. But I got the word to find, you know, the printed one that you used to get, and I went to another meeting the following day, you know. And that's all I'd done. I just, you know, went to meetings and done loads and loads of meetings. And actually, I was really in a good place. I didn't know that at the time, but I was not working. So, you know, I was able to go to meetings every day, and I sort of fell in love with NA, really, looking back. But I didn't know that at the same time, because I was so anxious, you know. I was like, yeah. So, yeah, like I said, never met anyone who got clean. It took me 3 months to get clean in NA. I was coming off a script, which I never, ever thought I would do. I was one of those, like, I was a bit in denial, you know, it's medicine off the doctor. You know, it's not really drug taking, you know, in our head in the meetings. I was like, oh. But, yeah, with the help and support of NA, I got clean. It took me 3 months, 3 and a bit. My clean time date is June the 3rd. Spring, great time to get clean. And, you know, and I haven't looked back really since. I remember thinking at the time, oh, it might be boring not taking drugs. Because I was in a lot of denial about, I thought I was still having a pretty good time with drugs, and I wasn't. It was only when I got clean and I looked back over it. I thought, shit, I hadn't had a good time since I was like 21 or something. You know, just loads of bad things had happened. Got a tea commitment really quickly, within a couple of weeks. I wasn't clean then. Met my sponsor through that, and I'm still with him today, you know. I would not, you know, today, because I had a difficult morning, and I'll come to that later, I would have phoned my sponsor, but because it's Good Friday, and I know he was seeing his daughter and his grandchildren today, so I thought, you know, it's okay. I can support myself, you know, and he knew I was coming here tonight, so I didn't bother him, you know. I can work out a lot of stuff myself now, but it's great to have a sponsor to, you know, to connect with, you know. Yeah, so step 10, yeah, we continue to take personal inventory, you know. So when I first came, I didn't notice, it took me years to work stuff out. I was like a bit of a slow burner, things didn't just automatically drop. But when I come after a while, I realised that I'd been really hard on myself throughout my life, you know, and I was carrying lots of guilt, and I had this like inherent sense that I'm wrong. It's me, there's something wrong with me, you know, and everyone else was, well, not everyone else, but you know, it was me. It was always my fault. And I discovered in NA, you know, by working the steps and doing other stuff since I've been clean, that it's not, you know, I'm not always wrong. I learned to accept myself, and I've learned to be kind to myself. Like I say, it took years. I didn't even know any of this. And I learned to let go of some stuff that I've been carrying for bloody years, you know. Things like, I always bring this up, I go back to my mother's death, which was, my mother died in 1982. But I'd carried loads of guilt for years about that, years. And I remember seeing a counsellor in 2011, this was up in North Wales, I was living in Wales at the time. And I kept saying to this counsellor, you know, there's something I want to tell you. And she, you know, I couldn't bring the words out, you know. And she, at the end of the session, she said, you want to tell me something? I said, I'll tell you next week. And that went on for months. And what it was, because I was my mother's carer as well, where I was stealing her medication at the time, you know, and I look back on that now, because that was my way of coping with watching my mother die of cancer, you know. So it took me a long time to get, you know, to let that sort of stuff go. my first partner, my first proper girlfriend I met when I was 18, she was 25. She was an addict too. And we lived together for 27 years. And she happened to die in 2004. We both got diagnosed with hepatitis C, you know, and I was very lucky. I took the treatment and I cleared it, but she didn't. She got pneumonia and she died. And I carried that guilt, which I learned was something called survivor's guilt, you know. So I carried that for years and I've been able to let that go now. And all this is because of work in the programme. Yeah, so, you know, when life is good, recovery is easy. I mean, my life is good. I tell you now, I feel a lot fitter and a lot, maybe not so strong, but I'm a lot fitter than I was when I first came in. If you saw me back then, I was very underweight, and yeah, I was just, you know, that, it's all right to swear in here, isn't it? Yeah, fucked, you know that expression, yeah, and yeah, so I've turned my life around by NA and learned to eat. Well, I didn't even know how to eat properly, you know. My idea of a good meal was a bowl of Alpen with a banana on it and a bit of milk, you know. I've learned how to cook. I'll cut to the chase. Today's been a difficult morning, and it's, you know, I thought the step out maybe, because it's like, have I harmed myself today? No, I haven't. Like I say, I haven't taken drugs. You know, have I read any NA literature? I read the, you know, the IP10, Living the Programme. So that's, you know, I've done that. Have I hurt anyone today? I don't really know about this. Yeah, I'm in there and I can't really find out about, you know, I can't find out about this. So the thing that brought me to London was I became a father. A bit of a shock. Like when I was 49, just before my 50th birthday, became a father. I was living in Wales at the time, and the son's mother was from London girl. I met her in France. And anyway, she wouldn't accept me because of my drug habit, you know. And I thought, at the time, well, you know, I can still be a dad and still be on the script, you know, but she wouldn't accept that. You know, and fair enough, I can see that now. So, so I didn't, she wouldn't let me see him. When he was born, I saw him in the first couple of weeks. My son's like Down syndrome, and he's got, well, I didn't know at the time. I knew he was Down, but he's got autism as well, which I didn't know, which has come out as he got older. And the relationship with his mother was really difficult, you know. And you know that expression, looking for love in the wrong places. We should never have been together, really, you know, when I look back on it. Yes, and my son was born. After a couple of weeks, she wouldn't let me see him. You know, I wasn't living in Wales at the time, so I was trying to get to see him through the courts, and that was just dragged on. And a good mate of mine said, Paul, why don't you go to London? Because my son's in London with his mum, you know, because in North Wales, you're never going to get to see him. So I moved to London, and that's how I fell in NA. You know, a doctor in Brixton sent me to NA, and that's how I ended up here. And I got clean. His mother said, if you get clean, you can see him, you know, but it didn't happen. And that was a really difficult time for me. I found it really. So the death of my first partner, her name was Elena. Death of her was like fucking massive. It took me about 5 years to get my head around that. But the thing with death is when somebody's gone, they're gone, and you can't see them. Whereas with my son, he was living in Brighton. When I moved to London, his mother moved to Brighton, so that shows you how good our relationship was. But when I moved to London, so my partner's death, you can't see it, but my son, it was all the time. I wanted to see him, you know. And time passed, and I sort of, I let it go. It took me a long time. I can't say I let it go. I didn't let it go, but it got easier. The longer I didn't see him, it got easier. And then in June last year, right where I live, I'm walking in the park. I don't know if any of you know Brockwell Park. I'm walking in the park. I've seen this woman looking at me. I was talking to a friend from NA actually, and there's this woman at the side looking at me. I didn't have my glasses, I didn't recognise her. Chatting on to my friend for ages. Then as I leave my friend, this woman comes up to me when she's right in my face, fuck me, it was my son's mother. I didn't recognise because she'd had her hair cut short, and I said, do you want to see your son? You know, he's 17 now. He was 16 then. And introduced me, and I thought, you know, that this happy days, you know. But it's not been like that at all. You know, the relationship with his mother has still been very, very difficult. And what I learnt in NA is that I was a terrible people pleaser, and you know, I'd always say yes when half the time I meant no. So I had to put in boundaries. It was great meeting them, and his mother seemed really happy at first, but she wanted us to get back together, you know, and I hadn't been with her for 20 years. And part of me think, oh, that'd be nice, and I thought, no, you know, no, because it wasn't. Don't go back. I've learned to then, for me, I moved forward. So I saw him for a couple of months. We went swimming together. He likes wrestling. He's 17 now. He's stronger than me, you know, and he likes wrestling and pinning me to the ground. But because of, I had to put boundaries in. His mother kept coming to the flat. I was saying, look, you're turning up out of the blue, and you know, you can't do this. You know, we're not together as a couple. We need to make arrangements. You know, I'm pliable. I'm an easygoing guy. You make an arrangement with me, and you know, and I'll stick to it. But don't just keep turning up. She didn't like that, and she stopped communication again. So I haven't seen him now for like I think since met him in June, seen him a lot till September, and since September I've only seen him twice, and one of them I just bumped into him with his mother in the swimming baths, you know. And so I thought, you know, what all I've got to do is to look after myself. I send money every month, and there's nothing else I can do. You know, I don't know where she lives. She doesn't want me to know where she lives. I don't need to know where she lives. You know, she's got my phone number. She's got my email. So, and like I say, I'm always happy to make arrangements. But so we had no contact. You know, and my life's just. I just continued. I've settled. I'm quite settled. But the other day, I'm thinking, is it a big mistake? But is it? It was her birthday. It was my son's birthday in February. I sent an email, happy birthday. Can't send him a card because I don't know where he lives, and I got nothing back. Fine, no problem there. And then the other day, it was her birthday on 28th of March. I sent her a happy birthday. Got nothing back. And then this morning I just got like a torrent of emails, and it fucking really rattled me, you know. It's just because, you know. So I'm like, just don't answer them, you know. What can I do? You know. And so this morning, if you just saw me a couple of days ago, I was really calm, and now this morning, all this has cropped up, and you know, I'm powerless over her. I'm not responsible for her feelings. I'm responsible for mine. Initially this morning when I got one email, then I got another one, then I got another one, and then I got another one. And I was thinking, oh, I've done something wrong, but I haven't. You know, I haven't done anything wrong. I can't give her what she wants. The main thing, you know, for me, I have to look after myself. You know, if I don't look after myself, I'm no good to anybody else. Yeah. And I've learned all this in recovery. You know, I came in when I was 53, and I kid you not, I remember going to an early meeting, and a woman said, when you come in to N8, you're the same age emotionally as you are when you started. And me being clever and thinking I'm being funny, I said, oh, well, I must be the oldest teenager in the room, you know, because I didn't get it. But I was. I knew fucking nothing, you know. I knew nothing. And what I discovered in NA was, you know, like, fucking hell, I miss my mum. Simple, miss my mum. And I didn't hear her voice for years. I was really close to my mum. I'm the youngest of 4 boys. And my mum got breast cancer when I was like 15. She had the breast removed, and she went into remission, but then it came back, you know, and she died when I was like 22. And I thought I'd lost her. I never heard her voice again. And since, you know, after getting clean of it, I started hearing her telling me, Paul, you're doing really well, you know, keep it up. And, you know, one of the gifts of recovery, I got back the connection. I've now got since I got clean, I've had my eldest brother died 6 months when I was 6 months clean. He had a heart attack in Liverpool, just fell on the pavement. I didn't use over that. I went to meetings, you know. You know, after all these years, like I'm 13 years and 9 months now. I'm 13 years and 10 months actually the other day. Yeah, 13 years, 10 months. What date is it today? Oh, it's 13 years and 10 months today then. Yeah, you know, and everything I've learned, I've got from NA. I've been able to reinvent myself and become my life. I keep my life really simple, and that's how I like it. One of my things is that I have to be careful about is relationships with women. I like relationships with women, and you know, I have to like watch myself, what I'm doing. I can be very flirty, and I can, you know, and you know, I try not to get too involved with people unless it feels right. I sort of think, you know, I'm 67 now. A couple of weeks ago, I thought, oh, maybe I've got one relationship left in me, but not yet. You know, because I need to look after myself. So, you know, after all these years, I'm thinking, you know, I'm a spiritual being and I don't hurt anybody. But it appears that sending my ex-partner, my son's mother, a birthday email the other day, I think I've heard that, you know. And she sent me her last email to me this morning. It was in capitals and it said, you make me ill. Now, I don't have that power to make her ill. You know, I can't make anybody ill. But I think about, you know, I think maybe I should have just left the email for a bit alone and just, you know, this car, you know. I think, like I said at the beginning, when life's going well, recovery's really easy, you know, and then now and again I get tripped up onto stuff like this, you know, so, but yeah, I've done well today. Like I said, I didn't phone my sponsor. I spoke to a couple of sponsees. I'm here at a meeting. I'm clean, and onwards and upwards, you know. I'm not a perfect human being, you know, there's a long way to go yet. And I'm going to leave it like that. Is that okay? Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm going to leave it like that. Thanks.